Nobody really wants to chat today. Jaster said hello, people, but that's all we've gotten. You guys are all on your own. Did I start early? No, you guys just aren't chatting. Saturday. I guess nobody wants to come hang out with us. But good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to SATAL 2020. I am your host, Moltar, and we are back again with Gold League. There's a lot more Gold League matchups, so, you know, we see Gold League a lot. But who doesn't like a little bit of a backroom brawl? Today is JG78 taking on Outer Haven. I think this is going to be a good one. I think. What do I know? I don't watch these ahead of time. I react with them just like you guys do. So we're going to jump into that. We got Low Blow back with us again. Billy, we rescued him floating on a raft. Hurricane tried to take him down but wasn't able to. The man, he's back. So there's going to be 3 of us today. We're going to see how it all works out. Could be a disaster. Could be great. I don't know. You guys are just going to have to bear with us and see. But Alpha Whiskey gives us another supercut. I know it didn't come out on YouTube beforehand, but man, this one's good. This is one of my favorites. The guy just continues to do better. So I'm going to send you guys to that route. We're going to come back. We're going to say hello to Low Blow, say hello to Billy, and we will be underway. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We got some floating faces. Billy's back. Evidently, he didn't get hit by the hurricane. My geography sucks, but there's some people that we know that did get hit by the hurricane, so we're going to do some quick shout-outs to them. I'll let Billy take care of that because I think he's this Florida man. He's more in tune with what goes on in the southern United States. I have no idea. I'm just a Midwestern here. We run out and chase tornadoes, unlike some other people, so I'll let him take care of that, and he evidently wasn't floating on a raft.
Yeah, no doubt. I've been pretty good. I've just been busy working, getting the website ready for the holiday season and whatnot. yeah, Southern Jumper, a guy who donates a lot of money. He's usually in on almost all these streams, watching and cheering people on.
Mm-hmm.
He got hit pretty hard by the hurricane last night, so thoughts and prayers out with him out there in Southern Louisiana, and all those people. I think there was like almost 700,000 people without power and stuff like that down there. So,
And that was Hurricane Delta, right?
Yeah, Hurricane Delta. So hopefully they're starting to recover and everything's all good down there. No doubt. Shout out to Southern Jumper for sure.
Yeah, they just keep, the southern coast just keeps getting hammered. And Delta, initially they were saying it was tropical storm force, but evidently it got a lot stronger as it ingressed towards Louisiana. Is that right, or did it not?
Yeah, it picked up. I remember we were sitting in Discord, and I was like, dude, I think it just jumped up back to a level 3 hurricane, and because me and him, I deal with it, he deals with it. We kind of are in that world, if you will, and that's never good when you see it pick up force, right before it hits land and stuff. But yeah, I know he's all right. I know he's doing well. He's just kind of picking up the pieces now, but hopefully they can get things recovered down there.
Right.
Pretty quick. We all know how that goes. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So how have you been? I said you were on a raft, but you've just had some stuff going on. So how have you been?
I've been pretty good. I've been working on a new brand, Outer Marker Apparel, to kind of complement Wild Weasel Apparel, more so in the general aviation space, if you will, kind of targeting the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 crowd.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, no, exactly. I something I've been enjoying and definitely am passionate about. So kind of taking the same principle I did with Wild Weasel Apparel and kind of applying it there. And in the same time, I've also been rebuilding the Wild Weasel Apparel website for the holiday season, kind of optimizing some stuff there and taking some pain points from some feedback I've gotten, and hopefully getting things a lot more streamlined and nicer for the holiday season. So we're ready.
Good.
Wild Weasel Apparel is going to be good to go here soon.
Good. Now, Low Blow, you were with us on Thursday. Anything new with your life? We mentioned that you had a new little guy running around, a turd machine, if you will, at home. So anything new with you going on at home?
Man, he's not running anywhere at the moment. We put him somewhere and he stays there. So I'm happy with that situation.
Yeah, that is nice. They can't really get into anything. You said he's 20 weeks, so he's not even able to roll really.
Yeah, just actually from his back to his front. That's about all he's capable of at the moment. But no, it's going good, man. And trying to stand up this BFM tournament this Sunday. We're going to run that proof of concept. So we got 5 brackets going to put through on the weekend. And super pumped for that. We're going to have Architect co-commentating and Guido. I don't know if you guys know about Guido, but Guido 1212, 1,500 hours in real F-15Cs. So he's going to be pitching in on that stream with us and bringing a bit of real world BFM knowledge to that. So super pumped for that.
Guests are half as loud as me. Okay. Well, I will try and fix that. So we will turn that up. And I'm going to turn that down. And I'm going to turn my mic down a bit. Is that any better, guys? Let's try and we'll see if that works. So this is the first time I've ever done this with 3 people. So I had to make some changes on everything. And I think the stream's going to be running better today because I made some changes there. So hopefully it doesn't blow up in our face. But I think we should be good to go. Today's matchup is going to be, again, JG78 taking on Outer Haven. Do you guys have any precognitions or thoughts before we jump in here? Low Blow, let's start with you, and then we'll jump back with Billy.
Yeah, I'd like to see the guys using the Viper, get high, get fast, do good work, and keep that 2-ship integrity. I'd like to see some good 2-ship work today would be amazing in both offense, defense, and recommittal. And then from the Tomcat guys, seeing them supporting those Phoenix shots, would be good. And maybe tightening things up a bit, not launching at 95 miles like we saw the other day. I'm just looking for that good amount of aggression out of those Vipers. I think would be amazing to see.
Good points, Billy. What about you?
Just going off what he was saying there, obviously it's something we talk about here quite a bit is conservation, right? Making sure you're making good quality shots with your missiles. And, it's something we kind of talked about before the show, seeing guys get into good energy states and manage those energy states, right? Not allowing yourself to kind of fall low and slow and being kind of, that low hanging fruit or kind of vulnerable there, right? So that, and along with the fuel conservation, I think that's been a bit more of a plot line this year to SATAL is fuel management with the different airframes that we're kind of seeing more of now, smaller fuel tanks, faster consumption, right? Like that stuff's all, I think, becoming a much larger part of SATAL, and watching how teams kind of manage that, I think, has been one of the more interesting points for me. So that's something I'll be looking for today, is to see how these guys kind of manage that fuel and stay on top of that.
You guys both brought up things about flight time and fuel and stuff, and something I'm going to point out is today, looking at the initial track before these guys take off, there are 7 F-16s and 1 Tomcat. So there is, the Viper is here to stay. I think it's really effective. Today's mission isn't very long. It is, I think today's matchup is going to be Guadada taking on, is it Sanaki against Kobaletti. So not overly distant, 80 miles, so 40-mile ingress. So we're not going to see a lot of need for fuel conservation or anything. I think they're going to take off gate, and the Viper, I think, is a perfect, it's in its element here.
Right. So we're looking at a matchup that kind of lends itself to that. And this is something I brought up earlier with you guys, and something I'll bring up to the audience. You know, how are these different teams going to begin to use that as a tool when picking matches, right? Like knowing another team would like to use F-16s and kind of putting them into that situation where that becomes more of a much more, you know, has to be at the forefront of your plan type deal. And I think you brought up, you know, how 64th kind of handled that pretty well previously. And I think, you know, for the more experienced teams, that will absolutely not really be an issue. But for some of the newer teams, I feel like that's a tactic that can be used kind of against those teams that are kind of more reliant upon that airframe, as opposed to another one where, you know, you kind of have to now adapt your game plan to the fact that the team wants a longer fight. So I'm curious how we see that play into things, especially once we get closer to the playoffs and whatnot.
Okay, so let's jump into the sim. Again, this is Outer Haven, or JG78 taking on Outer Haven. JG78 is the home team here. Is fuel going to be an issue? Is weapon numbers going to be an issue? The F-16s don't carry a lot. But let's jump into the sim, see how these guys are going to get on, and see who's going to take this one in the end. Here we go. And we're not going to do webcams or anything, so I didn't have a chance to set them up while we're in the sim. But I'm anxious, Low Blow, we'll go back to you, to see if we're going to see this get down and dirty and close. Because historically, I've seen a heavy tendency when these missions get really close for teams to exert a lot of fuel very, very quickly, and then a lot of weapons come off really, really fast, and things start getting really close really quickly. And even if we don't go into BFM, I think we're going to see things happen. As soon as the first person dies, I think things are going to go bam, 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 and everybody's going to be dead within just a couple minutes. So I'm really anxious to see what's going to happen here. So these guys, there's no terrain, being Guadada and Kobaletti. It's really just flatland and ocean. So any thoughts on that? I mean, what you guys think? You think one team, you looked into these teams a little bit more than the other one, than Billy and I did. Do you think either of these teams is going to act more defensively, or you think this is going to be more aggressive matchup?
I think JG are going to bring some aggression here today. And coming back to what you talked about with considerations for the merge, I mean, we're looking at about 90 miles between these bases. And, you know, if they do end up in the hills low level, especially in the Viper, you know, this isn't the idyllic merge of Folds Verona, 15,000 feet and 400 knots, right? These guys are going to be low on SA. By the time they get into that merge, they're going to be punching off their bags, looking for those Fox 2 shots. You know, they're not going to, I mean, they're in a competitive scenario as well, so the pressure is going to be really high. And coming into that merge, they're going to, these Vipers, they burn fuel like nobody's business. So, you know, even though it is only 90 miles, if they get stuck down there for any amount of time, you know, they're going to have that fuel up in their HUD, you know, do that DED display in the bottom of the HUD, or have it up on the DED, the fuel, and keep an eye on that, because that could become a real issue later on in this fight.
Right. Billy, do you have any thoughts on what we're going to see? I mean, I think, like I said earlier, that it's a short map, heavy aggression. Do you give the favor? I know you're the type of guy that likes to pick sides here as far as which airbase has an advantage. We saw that seemingly last week, or on Thursday, I think it was, where the Southern team was always winning. Do you have any thoughts on who you'd give the advantage to?
I'm reluctant to go off the air bases on this one, just with how close they are. But I'll say this: if I'm the team with the lone Tomcat, you got to be trying to find a way to use that to your advantage. There's an advantage that Tomcat can provide for you. It's about finding a way to utilize that to get that advantage, right? So trying to run these 16s around with Phoenixes, I think, granted you only get 4 of them. However, finding ways to use those effectively to push those guys back and make them run through that fuel would be, on my list of things to do for that Tomcat.
Right.
Trying to, back them up early and often, I think would probably be your best bet there. I think this is probably one of those situations where you do want to launch some of those Phoenixes, at least maybe 2 of them early on, and separate 2 of those other F-16s for your F-16s to kind of get in there and do the BBR joust with. But I think, creating some separation within the other side with that 14 is probably.
So you're saying use the 14 as kind of the dictator, the guy that's going to put the board down between JG78's flights, because the 14 is on Outer Haven, and he's going to be separating these guys like he's the dogs in the fox chase.
Right. It's a large guy fighting a bunch of small guys. You're going to use your reach and your size to your advantage, right? You need to push off a few of those guys so you can punch close quick, right? So I think that is, the stiff arm, if you will, with the Phoenix to bump a couple of those guys back and out of the picture for a moment long enough, open a window basically for your 3 F-16s to run in and approach those 2 that you did not shoot at, right? So I think, and now the 16s on the other side here, probably a situation where you do want to throw out one of those nice long high energy 120 shots. And do we know what our weapon selection is? So that's 120Cs, right?
Yep.
So they do have some pretty long range capability with those 120Cs. Not that the Bs even really cut down on that, but enough to be a factor here in this, I would say. So I'd like to see that 14 be a big part of this, and hopefully we'll see those 16 react appropriately.
Now,
coming back to this 2-ship concept, we can already see JG keeping those 2 ships close knit, and I'm really interested to see whether they can maintain that 2-ship integrity. And I'm liking the way that they've almost got a grinder. They got 2 in trail by about, what is that, 10-15 miles there, and.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think something else worth pointing out here too, not a lot of terrain involved in this fight. A little bit of terrain to the northeast, and a majority of this is probably going to be over water. Bullseye in the center of the bubble, probably about 10 miles off the coast of Sakumi there, probably maybe in 15. And around there. 15. Yeah. So I think that's going to be a factor here. The sensors are going to be wide open. There's not a lot of places to hide here, so guys are going to have to kind of be true to form and respect a lot more things than they normally have to respect. And whether they're thinking about that and whether that was part of the game plan for one of these 2 teams in choosing this location is a question I'd like an answer to. But
absolutely. And what I'm hoping to see from JG78 here is that they fly a sweep type timeline here against the OH guys and get high, get fast, do good work. Especially that lead 2-ship there. We see them coming in at the moment at Mark 1.05. If they could bump that up to around 1.8 and send the chaos down range and fracture that OH team early on here, and then turn out cold, you got that other 2-ship backing them up. To keep that pressure on grinder style. Would be super interesting to see whether these guys really change their posturing here from JG coming into this fight and really bump up the smash here. So,
now,
go ahead, sir.
What you guys said about Lobo, I think you led this off with initial formations coming from JG78. Their formation looks a lot more organized than what we're seeing from Outer Haven. Outer Haven looks like they're just kind of coming in line-centric. Yeah. They're in a trail formation. I wish the F-14 from K-Gunner would lead the way and be able to try and utilize those long sticks, those telephone poles that we call them so often here from Outer Haven, be able to utilize them a little bit more effectively. But maybe they're putting them in the back so that it gives the F-16s, like we talked a little bit about before we went on stream, about the F-16s being the rabid dog, where the F-18 or the 14 is more of the dog walker, and utilizing those AIM-54s is more of like the stick that you throw for the F-16s to go catch, and then they see a rabbit when they're out there trying to get it, and then that's the JG78 prey that they're trying to sick on. So I'm anxious to see if that comes into play here. The F-14 and really a whole Outer Haven side just seems like they're going to commit into this fight one at a time, and I don't really like that.
And it looks like JG78 just put out 2 long shot AIM-120Cs. So there's their first salvos. K-Gunner was about 46 miles, and there you go. There's the shot out of K-Gunner right there. So we do have that initial joust. It only looks like 1 from the 14 and 2 from the 16. So close to what I was thinking there, but not exactly along the lines of what I would have done. But I think we're going to see some separation form. I don't know who those 120s are on, whether they're on 6. I'm assuming they're on those 2 lead F-16s.
Yeah, well, and we're coming back to the early comments. You know, it definitely looks like JG78 are posturing in a DCA cap type profile here, rather than just flat out sweep maximum aggression of the fight. Because those 31-mile shots from the Trail 2 ship, once they closed the bandits, were at 31 miles, and they were at about 0.9 mark, and then turned out cold. So, you know, it definitely isn't this this high 40,000 feet mark 1.8 using the Viper to really reach out and touch someone that I was hoping for. But you know, it looks like they're just playing the slow burn here and lobbing those shots down just to put something out there, not to really reach out and touch somebody, you know.
Well, in this Phoenix that was launched from K-Gunner, it was launched from a long way. It's already down to 1,000 knots. And I want to point out something, ladies and gentlemen. I had a conversation while we're watching this Phoenix ingress. We'll actually just go back to the map. I had a conversation with the Ghost OTS, which is, he's one of the forerunners in missile physics and how they work and aerodynamics and stuff in the sim. And he brought up, he was like, Moltar, I watched the stream from, or part of the stream from a couple weeks ago, or when we were talking about the Phoenix and stuff. And this specifically, we just missed it, what the Phoenix was doing, but the aneurysm that we see the Phoenix do so often. And he was talking about the reason it does that is because it's not limited supposedly in the amount of G and energy that it's able to pull. So the PN and its guidance and stuff, as soon as it comes into terminal, it switches from a limited to virtually unlimited amount of energy that it can pull, and it's screwed up. So that's why we see the Phoenix act in the way it does. There is a there is a issue with it. People are aware of it. We just don't know when it's going to be fixed. And supposedly this issue still exists in the latest patches. But he was just giving me some insight on what was actually going on with the Phoenix. And he also said that it's kind of exacerbated a little bit because of the size of the flight surfaces that are on the Phoenix. I mean, you said, Low Thursday, that the Phoenix is akin to a flying Civic. So it is. I mean, it's a huge missile. It's 13 feet long.
Right. I just wanted to point out here, Moltar, that AIM-120 from Blueberry there, I mean, he's Mark 0.5 and shot that thing off the rail at 50 miles.
This one is what you're talking about?
The one that's just crossing over Bulls at the moment was a 50-mile shot at 0.5 mark. I mean, can you please explain to me what's going on there?
Yeah, agreed. I noticed that myself. That was a bit, it was inexplainable, as that it didn't seem like there was a reason to even need to shoot that missile there. Nobody was pressing. Nobody was even hot close. So I'm curious what the thought process was there myself.
I don't know that there was one. It could have just been one of those times of an itchy trigger finger, a little bit of optimism. Maybe they were just trying to get him to turn around so that Outer Haven could get to recommit and reorganize. I'm not entirely sure. Some of the times when you have a missile coming in on you, your reaction is, well, I just need to put a missile out there or back out there to see it. Because I feel like if the guy that shot at me isn't on the defensive, he's just going to close to me. But that distance goes right out the window. You stop thinking about he's 50 miles away or 60 miles away or 10 miles away. You don't think about that. It's all about, why does have to make something happen? So it's one of those gut reactions that we see frequently. And now we see another AIM-54 coming off from K-Gunner that we can ride along with while you're bringing up that point. It's still under power.
Right. And something I wanted to say was when you mentioned the lineup, I was thrilled to hear that there were 7 Vipers in this fight. But right now, you know, unless these guys start changing their posturing from DCA cap and bumping that smash up and really putting the pressure down range, you know, I don't see them using the Viper like it should be used right now. These Mark 1 shots. You know, I mean, maybe you can explain to me, are they saving the gas because they want to get to the merge? Are they thinking about that? Or why aren't we seeing these Vipers getting up to Mark 1.7, 1.8?
It could very well be that they're just waiting. So you don't want to just commit into something, go bonsai, and be like, got him, let's just go. You want to wait for something to happen. You want to wait for a seeming breakdown. And this Phoenix actually got pretty close. There it is. So it actually got within like half a mile of Plotty, and it was at like 12 or 1300 knots as we were riding along with it. But back to the question about why they're not doing that. You don't want to just go. You want to wait for some type of breakdown in your opposition, or you want to try and create something, which very well may be what K-Gunner is trying to do with these Phoenixes, to try and cause something to happen within the JG78 line. So we talked about the Phoenix, the Tomcat, trying to cause fragmentation in the enemy line. You want to just wait and wait. The key is to make sure that when you wait and you're ready to go, that you have the fuel and the weapons to be able to capitalize on any opportunities that may present themselves.
Right, and I just wanted to comment on, you know, we commented right at the start about how JG78 were coming in really nicely as two ships there, and I can see one of these 2 ships look like they've maintained some kind of integrity. We've got Plotty and Haraz out there to the west, but freaking Gunner and Moz there, you know, that 2 ship there looks like it's just basically turned back into 2 1-ships. So, you know, what are you expecting these guys to do? Link back up here at some point?
That's a good question. I mean, Billy, what do you think's going to happen?
It looks like there's a lot more separation going on the OH, a lot more disorganization, if you will, just from a top-down view. That very well may not be the case there, but it appears as if there's a little bit more or less of a plan going on for the OH side as opposed to the JG78 side. The main thing I'm seeing right now out of both teams that's a little disconcerting is the amount of like, it's almost like an artillery match right now. Guys are just lobbing these big long shots back and forth to each other, and they're just not doing anything. We're just wasting missiles at the moment right now. Right. So I think to the point he was just making, where the distances need to close in here. Somebody needs to kind of press this situation, and I think this is a good time right now for JG78 to try to push in. We've seen the Phoenix come out at least twice now, so he's down and limited in that capacity, and he both times now seemingly has fired that Phoenix at suboptimal parameters, I think we could probably say, right? So how that factors into his next shots, I'd like to see, is does he know where he needs to be to get the right shot off in that 14? And now we see a big volley of 120s from the JG78 side, and do they press on top of that is the question. But it looks like they're diving down now.
Yeah, so those shots came from about 30 miles. Quick shout out to Gordo B, who's dropped several subs. One to Guido 1212 GFLC. Is that your man Guido, or who did you say was?
That's Guido. That's the Eagle driver. Yeah.
All right. So
big shout
welcome
out
to Guido. Gordo B also dropped gifted subs to Flickshot, Black Haze 440, Ryan Flint, and Enraged. I think we've caught up everything that I've gotten. And Samurai came in with the tier 1. He's been back for 20 months. So we're over having two children there, Samurai. That's good to see. But I'm really worried, back to the match, about the current weapon situation on these guys. I mean, if we look at Juarez coming in here, Juarez is already down to half of his weapons load.
Yep. No,
I mean, Mo's just taken a 17-mile shot there on generic, and you know, the JG guys have to be low on slammers right now, and I don't know how that's going to play out. That could be quite pivotal. The fact that they did, like Billy pointed out before, just launch an absolute volley there. You know, so really interested to see once these distances start closing down and the OH guys are lining up against the JG guys with a few more slammers up their sleeve. How that's going to affect this fight. But another AIM-54 there from K-Gunner right now, and that one could be quite dangerous. Let's see if he supports this.
So he's still hot. If we look at the map, I'm riding along with Juarez right now, who's been launched on, well, let me flip back over so you guys can see Juarez. Juarez has been launched on by 120. It's now 3.5 miles away. Juarez is 500 knots, doing a little bit of energy management and energy degradation for that missile to bleed it out because it is in terminal guidance, so it's going to try and constantly pull on him. But it looks like we need to jump to this Phoenix as it ingresses on its target. It's 1,700 knots. Here comes its aneurysm. It's diving now. Who's it on? I can't tell who that is out there quite yet, but I think it's trash.
That's freaking Gunnar, but he's good, I think.
Yeah, that missile got trashed. It was a decent shot. That was a much better shot than we've seen in the past. I mean, but that right there showcases when the missile is unsupported, how awful its actual seeker is. Which the missile's from the 80s. It makes sense. It's an old missile. It is what it is.
You got JG Plotty here lining up against Blueberry at 8 miles right now. Aim 120 off the rail there.
Blueberry, why is your gear down?
Oh, no. We're not EFM yet. He doesn't need to slow down that bad.
Oh, and he gets hit. Blueberry gets taken down, gear down and all. His crew chief was going to be angry with the gear down, but now he's going to be really pissed now that the missile isn't going to be coming back at all. Luckily, the pilot was able to jump out, but gear down, guys, he went out with style.
Yeah. 11 mile shot now from Moz on Generic, and Generic sending his own love downrange.
And you could start to see this kind of break apart in the TAC view, where it was. I looked at the TAC view and it was a jumbled mess for a second there, and I think we're seeing JG78 come out on top of that mess from the look of it. That shot just now, I think, starting being the catalyst here for what we're about to see is them push in and kind of wreck shop here from the looks of it.
And Juarez actually looks like he's in really good position to take a launch onto Collins. Let's go to split screen so we can keep track of what's going on. But Juarez is now head-to-head with Colin. Colin has its lights on. Juarez is low. Here comes the 120, 3 miles away. Tons of smash on that missile. 1 mile away. He's not getting away from this one, ladies and gentlemen. Boom! Loses both of his wings, and Colin is the second man down. That came down to, I'm going to assume, just a lack of situational awareness. Juarez was probably 10,000 feet below him, and Juarez was able to capitalize on that, on Colin not knowing where he was. And, you know, we're going to jump back over. I want you guys to pay special attention. Juarez recognizes that nobody is hot on him, and he's just going to continue on. He's just now he's breaking off. I would have liked to see him just continue. He doesn't have any radar signatures coming from anybody in front of him. He's supported by people behind him. No reason to break off in this situation.
I mean, JG, you have to be low on slammers now, and you can see Plotty looking to come in and banzai K-Gunner in the F-14 here. So, I mean, what's K-Gunner got left on the jet at the moment?
He's got 1 Phoenix and 2 AIM-7s and an AIM-9.
Does he see K-Gunner? I don't think he sees him.
They're going to fly right over each other.
He's above him. Yeah, he's not going to see him.
So there's Plotty right below him. They're actually they're merged. I don't know if Plotty sees him.
No,
well, Plotty's definitely seen him. He's coming around 2 circle, and
But meanwhile, Generic has a 120 coming on him, and he gets taken down. So now the only one left is K-Gunner.
And he's about to go.
Yeah, who's merged with Plotty.
He's got a 120 on him right now. I think he's going to be all right, though.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to chaff that.
But Plotty, I'm not sure if he's blind on K-Gunner, but he doesn't look like he's engaging him in the 2 circle anymore here at the moment. Looks like he's just extending out, and these guys are maybe going to reset. We got freaking Gunner out by himself there close to the coast. And maybe these guys are going to regroup and then chase K-Gunner down once they've regrouped. I don't know. But right now, 4v1 situation here.
Well, I don't think they've done the math because I don't think they realize it's 4v1 from the looks of what's going on.
Well, they may recognize that it's 4v1 and they're going back to regroup. The question's going to be, are they climbing? Freaking Gunner, no. Plotty's at 18,000 feet. I like that. Moaz is at 9,000 and Juarez is at 15,000. So a couple of the guys are climbing. AIM-7 now being launched by K-Gunner.
Unsupported from the looks of it.
I think he's supporting it.
Gunner just needs to turn in hot on K-Gunner and put some pressure on. I really don't know why he's still cold. Maybe he doesn't have the SA at the moment. But, yeah.
In this situation, what I'd like to see, and we're riding along with K-Gunner on the right, I'd like to see them just keep launching and keep K-Gunner defensive. If you can keep him having to defend missiles and close, this becomes really easy. We've got a 120 coming from somewhere, and it actually ends up taking him down, and that was probably due to K-Gunner just being in that nice little bank turn. He probably didn't get a missile warning, turned right into it, and that smashed him right in the top of his lift vector.
Wow. Well, JG definitely brought the aggression this round. You know, hats off to them. They came in as 2-2 ships, and I'd say maintained quite a lot of pressure during that fight.
I would agree with that, and I think you know, we saw early on those large volleys and so on and so forth with the, you know, the 120s and the Phoenix rather. I think that definitely played into the positioning there. We saw most of this stay over, or I'm sorry, the position really played into that, as we saw most of this stay over. There was nowhere to hide for these teams, and I think that played into why we saw so much separation early on. I don't think anyone really wanted to get, you know, to do that initial ingress or press without having that terrain below them to benefit with the amount of space there. I feel like it was really, you know, like I said, there's just nowhere to hide on that whole thing.
Good points, Billy. And I think, as Moltar pointed out at the start, the OH guys coming in like a lemming train, all in a nice line like that, you know, it just didn't really look too promising right from the outset, did it?
Right. No, that certainly something to look at there initially, where they didn't really set things up to make things easier for themselves on that initial push. You know, I would have liked to seen a little bit better missile conservation out of both sides, but I'll say this: it looked like JG78 did what they had to do to win that, as far as, you know, where and when they shot. If I'm going to edge the shot choice, you know, who had better shot choices, I'm going to have to go with JG78 on that. It looked like they were in parameters far more often than we saw Outer Haven today.
Now, interesting talking point. I'd like to put the question to you guys. I mean, if you were in JG's shoes at the start here, and you saw the lemming train coming in like that, and you've got basically this grinded 2x2 ship set up, you know, would you then just bump up the smash and apply the pressure and fracture them, you know, early on, you know, really get fast and angry here? Because to me, just staying at the 0.9 mark, you know, 1 mark there, and just lobbing those long shots down range, I think it was a bit of a missed opportunity, to be honest, because you could clearly see that OH didn't really have a game plan coming into that fight.
That's a fair point, and I think, you know, say that we had the same you know, a mirrored lineup of fighters where there was a 14 on the other side. Yeah, if I see that train coming in, I'm telling that Rio, or talking to that and this is where I think having the Rio and the F-14 is a much you know, bigger advantage, because you can tell that Rio, hey, listen, they're in a train. There's no organization going on. Blob off that 4-shot twist. Let's split them up and drive the wedge in real quick and see if we can't take this thing home early. Now, once again, that's definitely the more aggressive strategy, I think, there, but I think if you can sense the weakness or sense the disorganization, that could be a beneficial strategy. Lobbing in 4 Phoenixes, getting all of those guys scattered and moving, and then sending in those three Vipers to press and go from there. But with the 4 Vipers, I think that you have to play things a little differently there, right? You're only going to be so effective with those long 120C shots, and the same thing really would apply for the 14 here. You know, it's going to really depend on their energy state. If you see them moving fast at you, that's probably not going to be your best strategy there, because they're going to be able to get away from those missiles. But the moment I see those guys trained up and are not moving at a fast enough rate, I think that's probably your best bet there. Energy state being the
yeah. Do you think these Vipers are launching single bugged RWS, so they're not giving off the missile warning on RAWs straight off the bat there, or what kind of radar mode do you reckon they're operating in during most of these BVI shots?
TWS.
Yeah,
TWS, most of it.
TWS, yeah, I'd say majority of the time we're in TWS. For the SAM mode, now this is where Moltar, you may be able to fill in a little bit of the gap here. I'm pretty good with the 16, but I'm not. I've had it explained to me previously, but off the top of my head, I don't remember the exact difference between being in SAM mode when you bug a target, between being in TWS when you're actually like TWS soft locking or whatever they refer to that as, where you're not keeping that active.
SAM mode is kind of like TWS. I don't know the specifics about how the actual modes operate in the real plane, but SAM mode allows you to track. It's a single track mode, but it allows you the radar to also scan behind it. So if you notice when you're watching the sweeps in SAM mode, it'll go into an STT seemingly where the radar is just looking at that one target, and then a couple seconds later it'll scan, it'll sweep that zone and update for any targets that are behind you. So it single tracks a single target while being able to give you a radar picture of anything that's inside of that, your radar's azimuth, while it's tracking that target. TWS is going to be a multi-track, multi-launch scenario, so it's able to track and launch. Now, theoretically, your tracking ability in that mode shouldn't be as strong because the radar is having to keep track of multiple targets, so it's not getting constant updates like it would in STT. So you're direct in STT single track, you're allowing the radar to send all of its radar energy towards one target. It's not sweeping or doing anything, so it's getting all of the updates as fast as possible on that one target. Whereas SAM, I think, is a little bit slower, and then TWS is a constant sweep where it's just updating everything in the radar's azimuth. Now, is it modeled correctly? Right. That's another question in and of itself. I've noticed that it seems like TWS in the sim seems to hold locks a bit better than SAM mode, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes to DCS, we get what we get, right? We have to make the best of that. So I think it's about understanding how, how exactly is it implemented to the best of the ability we can figure out. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, that's probably playing a factor there. The TWS certainly over, coming in and locking up RWS. You're just giving yourself away. You're just letting them know, to a degree what you're thinking, right, at the end of the day.
Right. And guys, we're not going to go to the TAC view because there's not really much to talk about in that TAC view because everybody just kind of died within a couple minutes of one another, and it didn't.
At the end, it's not even easy to kind of look at. There's a lot of stuff going on there with how clustered everything kind of got up.
There just wasn't anything dynamic. All we can say is it just seemed like the guys just winning on their own. They got jumped on by bandits that they didn't see.
And I mean, once that Tomcat's out of Phoenix is, you could see him just hanging back there waiting to die, basically. Like, he really wasn't contributing.
He had Phoenixes, though, up until when he was the last one remaining. He had a Phoenix left, and then he launched it. I don't know where it went. I didn't see it. But he did have weapons going to the end of that fight. But this comes back. It doesn't come back, but this, I think, illustrates if you don't use the Phoenix properly, or the 14 to its greatest extent, and giving the missile the highest PK possible, it's not really going to do anything. The teams have learned what they need to do to defend it. They don't get caught really high when they know a Phoenix is in the air. We're going to assume that teammates are calling when they see Phoenix launches. They're able to determine, based on PPLI and data link, where the missile is going and who it's on. It's not as effective as we've seen it be in the past. But real quick, I have to give shout-outs to Gordo B, because the guy just continues to make it rain. This weekend, I need to really get on to getting the emotes made, because Gordo B just gave another 3 community subs and then gave one to Neo. So he's just, the dude just keeps throwing them out there. He gave, and 2 other ones didn't even register. Craftos Stuff got one, Creedle got one, 64th Rage got one, and Quixotic LP got one. Standing Cow got one, and Scom got one. So those didn't even show up in the activity feed, funnily enough. So Gordo, my sugar daddy, making this stream roll. I really appreciate it. You're gonna be the primary reason for more cameras and everything that we're able to do to make competitive DCS better. There's a lot of things that we're trying to do. And that leads me to another point while we watch these remaining guys ingress. I'm rebuilding the website, dcswe.com, if you guys want to check it out. It's by no means done. A lot of the links and stuff are going to go completely different ways. It's a theme that I'm having to rebuild and stuff. So if you guys want to check that out, feel free to let me know what you guys want to see in a website. Remember, this is not done. The homepage is pretty much how it's going to look, but it's not done yet. If you think that you may want to be like a news editor and be able to post news, things that you think are pertinent to the DCS community, also send me a message and we can try and make that happen. Because my goal with this is to try and make DCS World events not just about SATAL, but about DCS multiplayer in general. So whether that be competitive in the squadron or BFM or small team spheres, or if it's just public multiplayer. That's what we're trying to do with this website, and I think the community's too fragmented, so we're trying to consolidate everything as much as we possibly can. Now riding along with Maz this eve is now finals on Guadada. JG78 already.
One of my favorite views in the game.
Yeah, Guadada already gave us, showed us that Horaz landed, so JG78 solidified their win here in round 1. But that was a ass kicking by JG78. Do you guys think that Outer Haven's going to be able to come back in round 2?
I'm curious how, and this is, a question I propose often in between rounds is, how is the losing team going to adapt their strategy to what they just saw, right? I think JG78 came into it with a pretty good plan. They executed it fairly well. I'm assuming you're going to see them stick to what they've been doing. I think Outer Haven, however, probably needs to clean things up a little bit, as Lobo pointed out in the early phases of that. They kind of just trained in like a bunch of lemmings there. They need, and in all fairness, we only get so much of the picture here, right? Maybe there was a strategy to that. I'm not sure what there would be if there was one. Nevertheless, I think having a bit more of a strategy regarding your formation and what guys are going to do off the bat there might help them out. So we'll see if they adapt accordingly here.
Right. Low blow, do you have any predictions on what the next round is going to be like?
I mean, if OH don't step it up, they're just going to get smashed again. I mean, JG clearly coming into this with a plan. They're flying in an organized fashion. They're not getting freaked out. They're staying calm. They're applying constant pressure. So, OH are really going to have to change it up in this next one. And like you say, that Tomcat, it has to play a pivotal role here. Otherwise, basically what we're seeing is a 3v4.
I'd like to see the Tomcat ditch the 7s and go for the Talds. I think the Talds can be...
You're all about those Talds, man.
I am, dude. I'm all about the deception, man. I like decoys. I like being able to make people look over here and do something over there. I think that is a big, not a big, but can be a very beneficial strategy within this world we kind of live in here, right? Those decoys we've seen, I'm not sure who it was, if it was Grim Reapers or somebody used the harpoons as basically a rocket guide or missile.
I don't think that was intentional, but we did see it.
Maybe, and it worked though. It worked. We've employed the tactic a few times in different spaces on the public servers, and you just see people attack it. They have no clue. You just don't. I mean, you just put yourself in the shoes of, I've seen myself go after one before, just not knowing, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it's very difficult unless you slew your camera to it and take a look at what it is. And I've definitely at times taken my camera, since the Hornet and the 16 now have that air-to-air capability, and I've found Talds, I've found harpoons out there in the wild over land too. So people are doing that type of stuff, and I think if done right, it can be a big factor at the end of the day. So hopefully we see more of that. I'd like to see teams incorporate more of that type of stuff into their into their game plan.
But I mean, I'm just going to put it out there. If we see OH come out in the lemming train again, I'm going to go and get a cup of coffee in 5 minutes, because I think I know what's going to happen.
I don't falter for that one bit. I think that is definitely a big indicator. We talk about it quite a bit here. How important that formation is to not only just keeping everybody in the right place, but allowing what you want to do to happen when you want it to happen, right? Not having guys in the right position, having someone out kind of off drifting, as we've talked about, can be detrimental, but it's an organizational thing. The more organized you are, the better you're going to perform overall at the end of the day. I just, from my experience in sports, my experience in DCS, the organization, everybody knowing exactly where they're supposed to be is a pretty important thing at the end of the day,
Well, I think one of the biggest...
And I mean, if we don't, so go ahead, Malta.
I think one of the biggest things that it's really hard to tell in SATAL, because we don't get the team comms, but communication is a massive part of this. So when I was playing, I played soccer through college and stuff, and that you could always tell the teams that were good because of how they communicated. And they never shut up, because it was, you're trying to communicate things where the other person may not see them. You're trying to... And it may not even be a huge amount of communication. It's just constant from several different people at the same time. And it's well done and efficient. So communication, it's kind of one of those hidden variables that we don't necessarily see in this, because we don't have a way to see it right now. But I think it comes down to who's able to communicate better and get the information across to those that need it, or the pertinent information, to be able to be successful in these matches.
And you brought it up the other day, Malta, when you said, when a team is one down like this,
It's tough.
The pressure's ramping up, right? And OH are going to be, they didn't seem to come into that last fight with a clear plan, and now they've got to come up with a clear plan and apply that in a situation where they're under more pressure. So, and I think JG, with such a convincing win there, 4-0, are going to be coming into this next round, feeling pretty chuffed with themselves, pretty confident. Now, whether that plays into complacency, we're yet to see. But, I'm loving the psychology in these fights,
Yeah.
Absolutely. And to your point there, I think, it's the momentum, right? Who takes the momentum from one round into the other? And I think that's an important factor. Yeah. You have to carry that momentum with you. And just because you take the momentum out of one round doesn't mean you necessarily bring it into the next round with you. You have to kind of consciously do that, carry that momentum, know that other team is going to be a little bit more skittish just because of what went on in that first round. And I think there are teams who play that angle to their advantage and quite well. And I think pressing here a little bit harder and a little bit faster than maybe you normally would might kind of shock them and put them back on their heels even more so. So we'll see what JG78 does, how they kind of react to what they see out of Outer Haven in the early portions. But I'm going to stay steadfast. I really hope we see some more organization.
I think what's going to have to happen is Outer Haven's going to have to be hugely aggressive. The only way that they're going to be able to deal with this is to be hugely aggressive, put JG78 on their back foot, and to just plow through them. Because aggression... Teams have a really hard time dealing with things that happen really fast because you don't have time to analyze and react or analyze things. You just have to react to them. And it brings to light exactly how teams are able to fly and how organized they are when things hit the fan. And the PG-13 guys, not PG-13, PG. When things hit the fan, and showcases how the team is able to operate efficiently and how well they're able to operate.
We saw that in that fight against between GR and Phoenix Task Force there when they really threw down hard in the 2-2 ship Viper formation there and maintained that integrity throughout the fight. And it's like fight like you train like you fight, or vice versa. And if OH simply haven't developed that skill set. And that repertoire, having those tools in the bag to throw down here. If that's just not in the bag, it's not in the bag. And that's what I'm wondering what's going to happen next round. Have they got an ace up their sleeve here that maybe we didn't see come out in the first round? But the Lemming Train, man, I can tell you, literally, if we see that, I'm going to get up and go make a coffee. And I'll be back in 5 minutes. Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's that maybe it's not in their bag. It could have just been that they didn't fly this round how they normally fly. And we may see next round, they may be like, guys, we need to get our stuff together. Some teams, they're able to operate better under pressure. I mean, we see it in pro sports all the time. Some teams just do better down. I mean, look at what was the NBA team that was, they were dead. Was it Nuggets? Who was it? Where they were down 2 games every time and they'd come back and win. Or 3 games or 4 games or something.
Need that. Some teams
this year in the playoffs.
True. Yeah.
No doubt about it. Some guys, rise up in those type of situations. There's no doubt about it. And one thing I wanted to bring up, and I thought about it during the opening salvos of that first round, is the timelines. Having good timelines for these different situations, and each guy in the group knowing what their timeline is based upon the weapons they're using and what they're seeing out of the planes in front of them, and adjusting those timelines, I think is a big factor that how many teams are aware of making sure everybody has their timeline down to what they need to do and how that timeline needs to adjust based upon what the other fighters are doing. So I don't know. I think that's just something I kind of wanted to bring up because I don't know how many teams really focus on it from a timeline perspective, right? Like, and what are your factors to adjusting that timeline type of thing? I feel like the more teams that adapt to that type of format, at least for that opening BDR joust situation, I think that is that strategy going off that is your best bet there. So
quick shout outs to the community. Samurai gifted 5 subs to Lacey's, Plemenic, Eldor, Captain Cold, and Betonator. And then he gifted another sub. Who was that to? I don't know who that one was to. Japan came in with a tier 1 sub. Gordo nope, those are old ones. So we're all caught up. But guys, I'm going to send you back to the supercut. We're going to get a little organized before we jump into round 2. I've got the tracks all fast forward, so we're ready to rock and roll. Go get something to drink. Enjoy the Super Cup, whatever you need to do, because more BVR action is coming at you. JG78 leads Outer Haven 1-0. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Again, JG78 currently leads Outer Haven 1-0. The question on everybody's mind is, will Outer Haven be able to come back and equalize this at 1 apiece and sending us into the all-important round 3 winner-take-all scenario? Now, Low Blow, while we were out on break, you mentioned that you wanted to bring back up the F-16 conundrum, so why don't you lead us back into what you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, sure, Malta. Well, I mean, Billy raised a really good point there to close out in that last fight, and it just led me to thinking, you know, how did we think? I mean, this is a pretty unique scenario here with 7 Vipers and 1 Tomcat. How do we think JG performed with the Viper against the best case use of the Viper in a BVR scenario here? What do you guys think?
You know, I think, you know, do we consider best case for, you know, 30-mile shots, right? Would the proper strategy be for all 4 Vipers from one side to shoot 120C at optimal, you know, speeds and energy levels, right? So what does that group do if all of a sudden each person is targeted individually with a 120C? How do you scatter and then regroup in a way to where you're still being effective off the bat there? I think for me, ideally, I want to try to move all 4 of those Vipers in different directions. I want to make them be organized after evading.
Right. Well, and
I mean, one of the. Sorry, go ahead, Malta.
To piggyback on that, I think for Outer Haven to be successful, like I talked about when we were back in the floating heads, is you got 4 Vipers, or 3 Vipers, excuse me. Be aggressive. Like, that's what that plane wants to do. Get your energy in. When you see a weakness, jump on it. Like, if you're a predator in Africa, you're not just gonna float around and wait for your prey to fall on its ass. You're gonna create a scenario that you can dominate it, because that's what you need to do. You don't want to expend energy just waiting and waiting and waiting. And yeah, you can. And if you're gonna wait, you want to just lie in wait, not fly around like you do in these scenarios. But I want to see them in the F-16s be aggressive. Use the K-Gunner's F-14 in a way that you force somebody to defend. He now is occupied by defending a Phoenix. Take that opportunity, jam a Viper down his throat, and take him out of contention.
Now, when you say be aggressive, because, you know, I just want to delve into that a little bit, because, you know, be aggressive to me means come into this thing at 1.8 to 40,000 feet here and throw some hate downrange early on and fracture that enemy team early on. But another strength that the Viper has that not many other BVR platforms have is simply the ability to add so much energy into a fight so quickly and surprise the guy. Okay, you're at Mark 1 now, but you know, very soon after that, you're at Mark 1.6. You know, that slammer is now, you know, let's put it this way: not all slammers are created equal.
Sure.
You know.
Well,
So-
when I say be aggressive, here's a scenario that I want you to picture. I told you a while ago, and Billy's heard me say this. You want to write a narrative, and your opponent is reading this narrative. So if we're looking at the map right now, let's look at the map. If we're looking at the map, say I'm Blueberry. I'm ingressing against Mouse, and I don't know who the other guy is down there. Who is that? And Plotty. Let's say I'm Blueberry, and I'm ingressing against them. I may go just kind of saunter in there. Make them think that I'm committed on them. Don't launch. Stay nose hot. I bring in Diamond Wrath with me. Diamond Wrath goes radar off. Tries to disappear. Maybe he acts like he's going a different direction. Allow the 2-ship to come in on Blueberry and focus on me. The narrative that I'm writing says that Mouse and Plotty are going to kill Blueberry. I have no idea what I'm doing since I'm Blueberry. Then, at the last minute, I make sure that I have enough energy and drag them in such a way that I put them right in front of Diamond Wrath. And somebody in chat said, make them say clever girl just before they die. That's a perfect analogy where I want to... Aggression isn't all about airspeed. It's about creating scenarios where you are in the driver's seat being aggressive. And when I say being aggressive, I mean putting yourself out there. Don't just fly 40 miles away. Get shot at in places where you might die if you don't defend properly. So in Blueberry, I want to come in, defend properly in a way that I would drag my opponent right in front of the guy that I actually want to take the shot. I'm the bait,
Right.
but they think that I'm their kill. But in actuality, I'm just there. And now they're the ones that are going to die instead of me. So
you brought up a good comparison to nature and animals and the way animals hunt. And I don't know if there's an old Planet Earth episode from 15 years ago probably where they showcase African hunting dogs and the way African hunting dogs kind of stalk and attack their prey, and they scatter them and they force them into these traps where two are waiting and two are chasing.
Absolutely.
And this is very similar on that account where you have to scatter them and then drag them into these traps that you set up. And I think if you can probably worth pulling up that YouTube clip if I can find it. That'd be something I could post to the website or something like that. Do a little expose on African hunting dogs versus PPR attack. Whatnot, right? Yeah, I'm gonna actually make a note of that here. I'll see what I can put together on that because I think that would be a cool kind of.
With the hunting dog analogy, you bring up another good point because something else they do is they fracture their opponent, right? They don't give them time to do anything because they're constantly there. They're constantly pushing them and making them defend. And if you do that as an attacking team and you're constantly making your opponent defend, it's just a way to panic your opponent. And when people or animals or teams panic, they make mistakes. And when they make mistakes, they have a tendency to isolate themselves, and they are much easier to kill. So it's
translating that mindset to a BFM setting. Coombs jumped on before and said, "Hey LB, how do I kill Crips in BFM?" And I said to him, "OODA loop." And OODA loop from Robert L. Shaw's book on air combat maneuvering: observe, orientate, decide, and act. And the guy that can complete that process faster generally wins. And I think of it in terms of seizing and maintaining the initiative in a fight. And when you do see two guys in BFM line up against each other, they're fairly equal. What you end up seeing is this constant struggle for initiative back and forth. He's throwing down, maybe trying to exert his type of fight, and then the other guy's saying, "Nope, I'm not gonna give that to you. Come here into my world." And it's this back and forth the whole time. And what we saw last round, I can't say we really saw that. We didn't see a back and forth. It was just a smack in the face, right? And I just wanted to point out as well, what we just saw there briefly while Moltar was speaking was a 30-mile shot from the OH Tomcat and immediately turned cold. So again, no support on that Phoenix.
Right. And to a degree, are they trying to just ring some bells there and turn it around? Maybe, but I get the feeling that's
loud noise.
Backup knowledge than an actual tactical decision.
Sorry, Moltar.
I said loud noise. because I want to chat. If they're listening to it loud, I don't want to blow people's eardrums out. But sometimes you got to turn things up. Jet sounds in the morning or in the afternoon or evening are just, they're good. And when you got Echo 19 sound mods, it's just, Combs says louder. Okay, we'll do it again. We'll go louder. Here we go.
So is anyone keeping track of how many slammers have been sent down range yet? Looks like JG.
I saw 2 initially out of JG. I think Phoenix out of OH, but I'm not sure on the 120. At least a Phoenix out of OH, so 3 to 5 probably at this point.
Who came up with oodles of noodles? What? What?
What? Like that's a WUT.
Is he talking about the OODA loop?
Maybe.
Is that what he's talking about?
That's what would. So I really think we need to. All of these need to become shirts, like oodles of noodles for the OODA loop, or trust the notch, or there's so many that we talk about here that are just ripe for this stuff.
Well, I'm about to actually do a bunch of new designs for Wild Weasel this week, so I will. I'll get with you, and we can maybe come up with a little collection of shirts and stuff like that.
Another AIM-54 being launched by K-Gunner, and that was launched. That's a better launch. Is he going to support it though? So we're going to ride along with it. It's still underpowered, 2,500 knots. Let's go to split screen so you guys can see exactly where the missile is, and we'll ride along with it at the same time. So here's the Phoenix.
And the engine just burned out.
I don't think it's tracking.
Yeah, it looks pretty stupid right now.
K-Gunner's not supporting it anymore. K-Gunner, why?
You gotta keep that nose on, man. Give it a nice 20 count.
Why?
20 seconds. You gotta can't turn away. You gotta fight the fear of that incoming missile that may be at you, and hold that direction and keep that missile supported. It's you know, sometimes it's a little nerve-wracking. You know there's a chance you're about to shoot. You have to hold that direction. Now somebody's probably already shot at you maybe, and you have to kind of sit there and weather that storm, if you will, and be ready to maneuver. And this is where cranking comes in. I mean, we don't see nearly enough cranking, I feel like, within SATAL, and guys putting someone at the edge of their radar, coming through, launching at the middle point, and then extending with the contact at the opposite side now of the radar screen, and basically giving yourself the best energy state to try to launch that missile, and giving the enemy a harder object to follow and shoot at the end of the day.
Right.
So I think that's cranking is definitely something we don't talk about nearly enough here, and we don't see nearly enough, and maybe start trying to identify that, and point out the guys who are doing that and make an example of it, because I think the more people see cranking as an example of it, the more you'll see it, not only just for us here and the people on SATAL, but the people at home, because it's not something we see enough even in the public server. So
Potty's doing a pretty good job of cranking and diving right now.
He has been. He's probably the one person we've seen do actually a very good job of that.
So the guys that don't know, what you're trying to do with cranking and diving is you're trying to increase your energy state. You're trying to drag the missile down to thicker air so that if it's not under power, it's going to bleed energy faster. And you're lengthening. When you're cranking, you're lengthening the distance that the missile has to travel while still maintaining a hot aspect to the opponent. If you fly straight, think about the straight line from the missile to you, right? But if you crank and go to one side or the other while allowing your radar, putting the target on the edge of your radar envelope, you're now forcing the missile to turn, lengthening its flight path. So now it's both lengthened, and while it's turning, it's expending even more energy. So what you're effectively doing is gaming, not really gaming, but you're trying to create an idealistic scenario in which you have the most energy possible and the missile has the least amount of energy possible, which is the whole premise behind cranking and diving.
Hats off to OH, and that's why I'm still here and I haven't gone to get a coffee, because they didn't come in as lemming train this time. So a bit more of a wall going on, and that seems to have worked out much better for them. But we were talking in the last fight on Thursday there, Moltar, about always be climbing ABC, and we saw Plotty there, do that defensive carve down to about 5,000 feet, and then reset, and he's making his way back up to 20 here. It looks
K-Gunner,
so
another non-supported Phoenix, and somebody said support your local Phoenix, and what I picture there is like a government figure, a Phoenix dressed up in a suit, with lawn signs next to him, running for local office, support your local Phoenix, right? And it's just not being done. And if you do that and you support it, it's going to be effective. Otherwise, you end up in situations like this where it loses to Joe Schmo, the third party incumbent that shouldn't be there in the first place.
Vote Phoenix Tomcat 2020, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Get him in office. Make it happen. This stream is not political.
So is K Gunner RTB at the moment? What's going on there?
I don't know where he's going, but he's got to be out of Phoenix's.
They had a very nice formation going, and then it just got broken up, and I'm curious to see what they do here to try to regain what they had. Because now we have, was it Generic down there off in the wind by himself, ripping a shot, I believe? You look like he might have
Say that again?
I think it was Generic, whoever was down there at the bottom. For OH, yeah, he's getting quite separated and quite deep. Plotty could easily rip a shot, defend, and then now we have a pincer for Miles and Plotty there to a degree.
Now, so, I see Plotty turning out cold there right now, but that was a 15-mile shot on Diamond Draft there.
Somebody asked, I wonder how many times these guys practice together. It honestly doesn't matter, because when you get into a match, it is totally different than practice, and things are not going to go as you plan. You're going to forget things. You're going to forget to turn your RWR on. I have forgotten to take missiles, because it's just, you're thinking about a billion other things, and you're going to forget things. And it happens, because this is not public play. This goes out for the public to view. This gets posted on the website. This means how you're going to rank at the end of the year tournament. There's a lot more riding on this than if you die, you just get to respawn.
And I think when you talk about practice, I think at the end of the day with a lot of it's get your reps in. Like I see the JG78 guys, they get their reps in on those public servers quite a bit. I mean, they're out there grinding, fighting, sometimes 2-ship, sometimes 4-ship. And when you see that, that's, you can qualify that as training or whatever you want. It's getting the reps in. It's getting the cohesion and the chemistry, getting the down, as we're going to talk about quite a bit here. The more you do that with the same group of people, the more you become one together. You have, and there's a lot more factors into it than just doing it, but I think having a group of guys who are all roughly on the same page, working together, the more you do that, the more you will become one as a group and fight together.
Support your local Phoenix here at 59.
You raised the point before, BFM's like day trading, and this is a bit more of a marathon here, and it's interesting to see that, and the team, I'm just talking from coming at this from a BFM perspective, but seeing these guys having to run this marathon and keep that level of communication up over what we're talking like 15-20 minutes, half an hour, and there is that possibility that they just break down over time, if they stop talking and they miss something and all of a sudden they're down a jet because of it,
Right. And I think, at least from what I've noticed from fighting with the group of guys I fight with and seeing that kind of build and develop within our group is, it started out, there was 2 of us and guys started coming in, or 2 or 3 of us and guys started coming in, and you're not sure how much you can rely on people. You're trying to do a lot yourself and hoping people kind of supplement. But as you fight more together, you begin to rely, people just start doing what is needed to be done in this situation. Things just start happening the way they should because people know each other. People know how to react to what the other person is doing with them. So I'll keep calling it's the chemistry. How that stuff kind of develops is so important, I think, for these groups.
Is that missile going for the other missile? Where's that going?
Well, Mouse has a pretty hot 120 on him here.
He's going to drive it into the water.
I thought somebody shot at a Phoenix.
Yeah, there you go.
In case.
Well, it's flying formation with Mouse, just went into the water.
Are we still 4v4?
Yep.
Wow, what if missile count's got to be getting low, fuel count's got to be getting up there. We've been out on the course here.
They don't have very far to RTB though, so fuel count fuel amount really isn't that big of a deal because they only have to RTB like 30 miles at this point because OH is so far pushed south with JG78. JG78 only has 35 miles to get back to their base.
Multi, you promised me merges, man. Where are the merges?
I didn't promise you anything. I said aggression.
There's been a little bit of that today.
I think it's about to happen. I think we're about to see the shaken up bottle get uncorked and just blow it all over the place.
I'll say this: teams look like they've been better on. Well, I say this as Mao's dumps. Well, no, he's pretty good there. The countermeasure usage. We don't talk about that nearly enough. How the first round, I did see what I felt like was a little bit excessive use of countermeasures. Chaff, mostly, and chaff is important. You don't want to waste chaff in a match like this. You want to be able to utilize it as only as much as you need. Dumping all your chaff on one missile is probably going to put you in a bad situation somewhere later down the road in one of these matches. Countermeasures definitely a big factor.
Yeah, these guys are definitely getting more aggressive.
Let's take a look at this shot from Mao's at Diamond here.
I don't like these. Oh, and Horaz got hit. I didn't even see that missile come in from somewhere. Horaz got taken down by a 120 that I didn't even see.
Ooh.
Well, I was looking at something else, so that I don't know that I didn't see it. I just wasn't paying attention to it.
Well, that was
what I should have said.
Diamond Drath fired that. Let's take a look at that shot here in TAC view real quick. It was a. Let me go back. Yeah, it's a 7.5 mile shot on Horaz from Diamond Drath, who's then turned out cold and Moz launched him from 9 miles.
Well, now we've got K-Gunner ingressing onto, Mao's ingressing onto K-Gunner, and Mao's is in a perfect firing position inside 5 miles. He sees K-Gunner, and K-Gunner is in a world of danger now as he gets ingressed on. Let me see if I can grab this.
3 mile slammer shot. 3 mile slammer shot there. That is angry.
He's dead. No getting away from that, and pop goes the K-Gunner as he descends in a ball of wreckage. Guys, to fly an aircraft, you don't want it to be in pieces. That's typically a bad thing, and you lose a lot of flight characteristics of your
unless
plane.
It's an F-15, in which case you're fine.
True.
Just jam the throttle, go. Yeah.
So now we're down to a 3v3. Mao's freaking Gunner and Plotty remaining for JG78, Blueberry, Diamond Wrath, and Generic remaining for Outer Haven, and we're seeing both teams be much, much more aggressive coming in here. Freaking Gunner's now putting himself in a decent firing position against his opposition. I'm going to try and get the map up here so you guys can see both of what's going on. Freaking Gunner's on the right.
Between Freaking Gunner and Blueberry
Freaking Gunner! You're in a perfect firing position against Blueberry, and you don't see him.
Got it. He's got the shot up.
Well, I think he's too cold now. And now he needs to recognize that he needs to break off because now he's got Generic inside 4 miles. Oh! I just realized Freaking Gunner has no missiles.
Yeah, and he's down at 2.5 miles now. Generic coming into the mix as well. We're going to see some 2v1 ACM here against Freaking Gunner. Oh yeah, boy, turn it up. Let's go.
Well, now we've got a missile coming in from Mao's onto Mao's, and he's trying to defend, but that came from inside 3 miles. Got to get into the notch quicker, and no, he doesn't get in there quick enough. His pilot dies, his wing rits off, and he is now swimming with the fishes, and we finally got a merge with which Low Blow must love. Freaking Gunner now merged with Blueberry. But Freaking Gunner...
Twin circle on Freaking Gunner. Freaking Gunner, I don't even know if he knows about Blueberry right now. He's totally focused on Generic, who's turning out cold, just absolutely baiting Freaking
Gunner's
in.
dead.
Oh my god, a 120C off the rail. That is bad news.
And now, as quickly as it all started, Plotty is all alone. 1v3. 120 now launched from Plotty. Who's that on? It's on Blueberry. No, it's on Diamond Wrath. Is he going to be able to get away from that? See if we can track it. So 120 is 0.8 miles behind him. Don't think that's going to be a problem. Plotty jettisoning. Oh, it is a problem. Diamond Wrath gets taken down, but simultaneously, Plotty gets taken down. So as soon as the chaos started, it was over 3 minutes later.
Wow.
You know what? Hats off to OH on that. We were talking about pressure and the ability to perform, and they stepped up to the plate big time there.
No doubt about it. They really, I think, held it together a whole lot better when rather the fan there, if you will. They definitely, I think, had a bit more of a plan going into this. No doubt.
And that 3 mile slammer in the merge, I mean, where was he hiding that thing? Can anyone tell me?
Right. Well, the man with the missile rules the last few minutes of these matches. As we saw there, I mean, every 16, it seemed like you had no missiles left going into the end there. And the one guy seemingly with the one missile left was able to kind of come through and be hero there at the end.
Oh man, so we're gonna have a decider. This is great.
Yeah, no. Rubber
Going
match
to
for
round 3.
There we go.
Billy, can you turn your mic up a smidge?
Certainly. How's that? Is that better?
Lobo, can you turn yours up a bit?
Yeah, he is.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. How's that sounding, guys?
I think you're good.
Test 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I think we're good. Okay, so now Generic and Blueberry are RTB. Be interested to know what their fuel states are, but we can already see Guadana. So I don't think they could
Right. He's got enough
go
hydrazine
idle
that
here
was-
and not be a problem.
I mean, what is it? I forgot what Breaking Bad style chemical they used to fuel that thing once it runs out of gas. I think it's hydrazine that thing runs off
I think it's
of.
hydrazine.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they have a fan that comes out power the electronics.
It's like a ramjet turbine or something like that.
Something like that. I just imagine like one of those spray bottle fans just popping out.
I need my screens. There's nothing worse than running out of gas in the Hornet, though. As somebody who's done it more times than he probably wants to admit to you, that the moment when you see things shut off and it just starts dropping, it's that Moltar face where he pops up on the camera all too close and everything. It's you just like, how did I just get in this situation? Yeah, there you go. That one. There you go.
Well, I'm happy, man. I got to see some ACM there.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit of BFM. Yeah, things are improving, Malta.
Well, it was
I
like
think
faux ACM. It wasn't. It was like, we're gonna do ACM 120. I mean, it was.
Exactly. Yeah.
It got cleaned up substantially though between round 1 and round 2. Those were two pretty different matches, I think, at the end of the day. Just based upon OH and the way they kind of approached round 2, I did a much better job of kind of reining things in there. I think we pointed out there was definitely some loose spots and some shaky parts of that, but when the things kind of came together, they were able to do what they needed to do there, and much more aggression, as I think we pointed out. But definitely impressive to see them make the adjustments.
It was. It was.
Yeah.
Something I want to throw out there, guys.
If I never see a lemming train ever again, I'll be happy.
Oh, you're going to see lemming trains again. It's
Yeah,
going to
it
happen.
happens.
But something I want to point out, guys, while we got some time while we're watching Generic Land, is there will not be a stream next weekend because we're putting my house on the market and we're going to have people come in to look at it, so I will not be home. So just be aware. Well, we're not going to do an open house. That would be, we don't want anybody just to come in and check it out.
Right.
Moltar's house furnishings and finishings are not here to just come and pick up at your leisure.
Right. Yeah, I'll roll through. I'll pick up. It looks like you got some nice speakers there too. I might have to come through that open house and snag me up those. Not that they'd be easy to find.
Yeah, if you can, if you can pick up a 4 foot by 4 foot box that weighs 350 pounds, I think those are pretty safe because they're not going to get out.
Anymore. I'm building my own AMC in my house.
That's kind of what I'm doing.
It's not a bad idea, man. I'm all about it.
I don't like. That's the last thing I want to do is go into a movie theater and listen to people talk, get my seat kicked, and all this other stuff. It's just frustrating.
You end up sticking to the seat with you.
Or contract coronavirus,
Yeah, that's probably a big thing right now too. I'm not really looking to do that.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Baltard, can I just give a shout out to Guido for coming along and helping us to commentate on the BFM
Absolutely.
tournament we're running tomorrow. Guido with 1,500 hours in Real F-15 Cs, and he's got his buddy Sleek who also flew Cs. Go check those guys out. Gaming 1212, I think they're called. And so he's put his hand out to come and help Architect and I commentate tomorrow on the BFM tournament we're running at 1500 Zul. I'll be running that on my own Twitch as a proof of concept for DCS World events here. And if that goes well, we'll be moving into a weekly BFM tournament for 16 people, 1v1 guns only, no G limits. The only rules there will be no paddle on the Tomcat. On the Hornet, I should say. No elastic override on the Mirage, and no maneuvering flaps on the Tomcat. But looking super forward to seeing Guido bring that real world BFM knowledge in to commentate those fights with us. That's going to be.
Oh, they don't know
cool.
anything, Loblo.
Oh, that's cool. I'm actually gonna check that out. That's exciting to get that type of input. I love seeing the guys with real world experience come in here and kind of point out the finer things at the end of the day. You always feel like you pick up a little bit of knowledge along the way when you listen to guys like that. So that's awesome. We need more of that.
Guys.
And hats off to Malta for bringing what is a pretty fractured community together and bringing all the stuff, the competitive side of DCS into one place. I think that's a great initiative. So
I'm trying. It hasn't
kudos,
happened
man.
yet.
Right,
We're
right,
trying. The key is try. So we're gonna see where it
there.
goes, though. We're gonna see where it goes.
We've seen things come together a whole lot more, I think, over the past year or two. So I think we're moving in the right direction. There's no doubt about it. It's just continuing on the path, right? Doing what we're doing.
Well, I did talk to some other guys, and supposedly we may be also dabbling eventually into virtual air shows and trying to take on the VA guys and see where we can go with that. That's not, I don't know if that's going to happen yet, but like I was saying earlier, the whole point behind all of this, ladies and gentlemen, is the DCS multiplayer community isn't big enough to sustain siloed segments of it, right? There's at any given time, if you look at the multiplayer server listings, there's about 1,000 people online, which is still decent, but for a multiplayer community to be stable and to be able to support a bunch of different areas to do different things, you need a lot more people than that. So we're not to the point where we're an international group of people, so we're not to a point where we can support that fragmentation where we can have an EU server, North America, Asia, Australia. Australia's just get screwed. I mean, they have to bend to our will and beck and call.
That's what they have to do. That's why I moved here, so I could play DCS with the rest of the world.
I think one thing we've done pretty well, and specifically you've done very well at this whole thing, is promote, right? We do a good job of making sure people know about it, where it is, and when to go watch. And I think that's something some of these other leagues and groups have kind of struggled with. And I know one was the air racing. I believe we just saw them kind of fold things up because the participation kind of fell off. And for me, that was a super. We had two guys from our group from Athena go do that, and it was super entertaining to watch. We really enjoyed it, but it just wasn't promoted enough. People just didn't know about it and made aware enough to go watch it, I think. So maybe that's a group to reach out to, because I think that would be something really entertaining, and it's a great part of the community that I don't want to see go away, because I thoroughly enjoyed watching those.
How we're trying to do all of this, and something that we're trying to do to reach out to more and more of the community, and low and blow have talked about this a decent amount, is ladders. So instead of having teams and people have to submit to schedules, they're able to fly when they want. They just have to organize it. And that's something that we've seen have success with here in SATAL, to a point where teams are able to fly before a scheduled match. And as long as it happens before the scheduled match, that's fine, which is kind of like a ladder. But, you put air racing on a ladder, and, maybe that ends up making it work, where you have to accumulate a certain number of ladder points to get into the end of the year championship series or the end of the year championship tournament. And if you do the same thing with like BFM or 2v2s or 4v4s and 6v6s, if we take SATAL that direction, it just opens up everything to making everything much more approachable for the end user, because nobody inside of DCS is a real pro at this. Some people look at themselves, be like, dude, I'm a professional virtual flight combat. I don't even know.
Carlos.
But nobody gets paid to do this. So I think the important thing is to give people the ability and flexibility to work around their own schedules, and to just give an environment that ensures that everybody's able to maintain a healthy lifestyle while being able to participate. Because I think a lot of people inside of DCS and whenever people get into any game, get into competitive sports, that's like all they think about. And I want to make sure that they're able to both do the thing they love and to be able to maintain a healthy lifestyle outside of the games they have. Because family first, your real life should take precedent. I love DCS, but I don't want relationships and stuff to suffer for this or whatever we're trying to do to succeed.
And I think things like burnout are real. People get burned out from stuff.
I don't. Speak for
not
yourself.
everyone, but some people get burnt out on things, and that stuff's real. And you got to kind of, I think, take a lot of that stuff into account. Right? It is what it
we
is.
got burned out last year streaming for like 8 hours a day every
yeah
Saturday.
No, it's a grind, and that's and another good thing, low blow coming into the picture, it really helps make this easier, I think, for us to do in a more frequent basis, because there's less mental strain on trying to carry the conversation for as long as we used to have to do that. And I really am enjoying the new format. I hope chat out there is enjoying all three of us on
I'm
here.
not coming back, man. I haven't enjoyed myself at all.
I think he's just intimidated by your mustache, Billy.
Yeah, it happens.
When you're talking about burnout, man, at this rate, I'm going to have to replace my Rift S every 2 months. Like, I'm living that thing.
No doubt. Well,
I think Low Blow's already found out that I'm a bad influence on people buying things.
Oh yeah, trust me. I have to be very careful there. Or
Billy, you think it's killing, dude? It was day one after FFH. I went to spend 150 pounds on a green screen. He's not kidding.
And then he sends me a message like, "Should I buy the FSSB grip? Should I buy this?" Like, do it.
Yeah, no, trust me, dude. You'll be broke real quick. Trust me, I know. There's no doubt about it. I was lucky enough. I when I got into DCS, I dropped a significant chunk of change on nice stuff, and it's all somewhat held together for the most part. No doubt about it. So definitely a dangerous guy to hang around there. You got to be careful.
Yeah, and coming back to the virtual air show thing, there is one sort of side benefit to that, and that's that we get to hear VTB Ray impersonate Christopher Walken. So that is never a bad thing. I don't know if you've heard him do it, but it is amazing. Yeah, VTB Ray, Virtual Thunderbird. That man can do accents like no one else I've ever heard. So bring it on.
I got to spend some time with their CO when I went to Flight Sim Expo last year.
Oh yeah, that's right. I met up with you there.
Yeah, that was a good time.
It was.
That was a good time.
We didn't get a chance to do that this year. Hopefully next year that can be a thing again, because I know me and the boys really enjoyed going down there and checking all that out.
I think we all just have a DCS LAN party at Moltar's house.
Not a bad idea. What's nice is you got an air base near you. You can sync that up with an air show, because I know our group, we love going and traveling and doing the air shows together and stuff. So
we were supposed to have one this year, but they canceled.
Yeah.
We actually have a couple. I've got the Thunderbirds were supposed to come here we've got a guard base that's here where I live, and then Whiteman is about an hour away. So where the B2s are, that was kind of intimidating when I went to their air show last time. Because I was looking around, the B2 hangars were open. You're looking up at top of the hangar. You're like, what's that up there? Oh, it's a sniper with a spotter sitting up on top of the hangars, because the B2s, there's nuclear ordnance and stuff. And it's, it's
no joke.
No joke. Like there's
no joke.
All of the B2s for the entire country are based there. And it was really cool because all of them have their own hangar. All of the state, because every B2 is named after a state. All of the B2s reside in a specific hangar. It was just really cool. I hadn't been there in a long time. And it was really cool because we were right on the flight line. So when the B2s would taxi, like I had a B2 taxi like 20 feet in front of me. And it was awesome. It came back from I think it came back from bombing something. I don't know where it came from. It came from something. But that was really cool. So anyway, I'm going to send you guys the supercut. We're going to get reorganized. I've got everything fast forwarded already. TAC views, I'm not doing them today. I don't have time to go through. I think we're talking about things, and I can't elongate things long enough to
a pretty good example. And guys know that those TAC views are available out there for you to go grab and download and watch, and you can kind of break those things down yourself. I think that's a good thing for people to be doing. For those guys out there who are learning, who use SATAL as a learning tool for DCS, like coupling up what you're watching with actually going in and checking out those TAC views yourself is a very beneficial thing to do. So I highly recommend guys out there.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. Everybody that flies in SATAL, it's terrible. They're all awful pilots. Nobody has any idea what they're doing.
I mean, I think there's a lot of people who come into the chat who are like myself. When I found SATAL, like I was looking to learn more, and I'm sure there's probably some more people out there who are new to DCS who are kind of trying to figure out how to get better at it, right? And I think that's a good strategy for that. So
All right, guys, I'm going to send you to the supercut. When we get back, round 3, the all-inclusive, all-important, winner takes all, round 3, Outer Haven against JG78. We're tied up, 1 apiece. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for the little bit of black screen there, but we are back. Outer Haven taking on JG78 in a 1-all matchup between these two teams. The Southern Airfields, I want to point this out, Billy, they didn't have an advantage here. Outer Haven was up in the north, and they won.
It's true. It's true. I was really impressed with Outer Haven in that last round there. They really came out and like I said, made the critical adjustments to how they were operating, I think, in a lot of different ways. I still think we, from both groups too, better shot selection. Maybe not as many early shots in the match, because we saw how crucial the one guy with one missile left was, I think, in the end of that match. I'm pretty sure he was one of the only people left with ordnance in that whole thing there.
He's like, what's his name from Independence Day? Does anybody have any missiles left?
Yeah, exactly. So
won't shoot.
I think, you know, if teams can, whatever team can be better with their shot selection, I think is going to be the more dominant team in this one. And you know, we talk about this all the time. What are these matches? It's a fight. What is a fight? A fight is a fight for dominance at the end of the day. It's trying to get the other team to do what you want them to do, right?
Die.
Well, yeah. From a much more zoomed out perspective, yeah, absolutely.
What do you want your adversary to do? I want them to die.
You know, we talk about back to the hunting dogs viewer. You want you're trying to force your opponent into the position that is going to give you the best chance to take them out, right, at the end of the day. So it's that struggle for dominance. Can you get the other team to do what you want them to do? And I think, you know, teams have to be aware of that fact, that this is what's going on here, and you know, look for the opportunities to sense what the other team is doing and know how to avoid not falling into that trap.
Looks like these guys are now departing, riding along with Outer Haven departure down here at Kobuleti. They are again down in the south. Do we think
that
they are going to have what it
kind of
takes?
You know, OH in that last round, they were pretty convincing at the end.
I don't think it was as convincing as round 1 though was, because Outer Haven only had 2 pilots left.
Yeah, definitely not. But
I really think Outer Haven just kind of struggled out the gate in that first one. It seemed like they got their act together, and we saw a more true version of Outer Haven maybe in that second round. Maybe right off some of what we saw in that first round as just us getting knocked off or something along the lines of that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm curious what exactly, I guess the round 3 here will really be the true indicator of what we're getting on Outer Haven today.
Right.
And the betting's been pretty hot today too. I see my man Ryan Flint getting in there making some money on this JG78 guys.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Outer Haven is able to make it a back-to-back in this.
Well,
Are they going to be able to continue on the momentum?
I'm slightly afraid because I'm looking at the attack view in real time and I'm seeing what looks to be a lemming train. So,
well, see you later, Loblo. I'll see you Tuesday.
5 minutes. All right.
Yeah, grab me a cup while you're going too. I feel myself getting a little tired here. No, I think that we hope that maybe shapes up. Maybe that's just a little bit of them still kind of sending out from the airport, but not sure.
Yeah, it looks like JG have gone with the original plans for the first round, 2 ships here.
Everyone is so quiet. We're quiet? I don't think we're quiet.
I mean, I know naturally I am not quiet. Where my mic volume's at is a whole nother story.
No, you should be fine.
Okay. Yeah, maybe Task Force trying to maybe check your levels.
I don't know. Anyway, these guys are now ingressing. I think this one's going to be even more so than in the past. Way more aggressive as these guys...
already take a look at the difference in energy states here. Blueberry and Generic back at 0.6 mark. The JG guys are already coming in at Mark 1. Are OH going to step it up here and get aggressive at some point? Because they're just not able to contest at 0.6. Something's going to have to change there.
All right, and Diamond Wrath way out in front, but moving fast. I mean, he's moving pretty visibly faster.
I sped it up a little bit.
Oh, you sped it up. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like,
he's moving very fast.
Really moving quick.
He's running at an incredible rate.
It's visible speed, Molzer. I have never seen anything like that in my life.
I sped it up a little bit just to get the ingress here, so we weren't waiting around. Because I got things to do. I got a life. My life does not revolve around DCS. Blueberry.
Mine does. Blueberry's stepping it up now.
Mine does. Low blow, don't tell your wife that. That may be... Don't lead with that if you want to have a good day. Sorry, babe. My life revolves around virtual aircraft.
Yeah. I like living on the edge.
Living on the edge. You're going to live in a pit if you're not careful.
With my FSSB.
Yeah. I'm just picturing you with nothing in there, just living in a dirt hole with your stick, just crying, acting like you're flying planes that don't exist. What have I done? But nothing's really going on right now. Both teams are being much more standoffish. I have a feeling, though, like we saw in round 2, once somebody dies, others are going to die in a hurry. Like, it's going to be, I told you to jump off the bridge, and Lemming 1's going to be like, okay. Lemming 2's going to be like, I'm following you. And it's just going to happen very, very fast.
And I mean, given that JG aren't applying much pressure here, maybe OH conserving fuel like this is going to play out in their favor later on. Who knows?
They are doing a decent job at conserving fuel, because we look at Blueberry. He's egressing, not in gate, 95% engine RPM, so probably he's at a decent engine setting, but he's not worried about keeping that energy state up because he's egressing away. I like that. And maybe is that going to be able to give them an advantage when they recommit? Are they going to have more fuel that they feel they can expend at an earlier point because they're not staying in gate the whole time? I don't know.
23-mile box from Generic against Mars there.
Well, no, I think the more important one that we need to watch is this AIM-54 launch from K-Gunner onto Plotty.
I think too what we're seeing here is a pretty standard thing in SATAL when you get to the third round, right? So neither team here really playing to win the match, more so playing to not lose the match. And it's whatever team kind of flips that switch and tries to win the match first, I think is going to have the best benefit.
Plotty.
Turning back into that though, kind of scary.
Plotty may be in trouble. He's defending now. 2 miles. I think he dies. What was that? Phoenix, what was that?
Wow.
Quite a bit of chaff there, but
there was chaff, but I find it so funny that the missile's like, it saw a rabbit.
I mean,
30 degrees
at the
off
edge
target.
Of the envelope there for doing what he did. I mean, that Phoenix didn't pay any favors to K-Gunner, but nevertheless, I think the excessive chaff was really.
Well, prior to the show, we talked about when guys are going defensive and what their mentality with that is. Are they defending against these missiles based on the timeline they're seeing the bandit fly against them, or are they just responding to the RWR? And I have to say, Plotty, it looked like he just responded to the RWR there.
He did a good job though after he responded, because he got into the vertical notch, dumped a ton of chaff, and was able to get away from that missile.
And I think that is one of the beauties of the 16. The 16 can play that game of kind of holding out, and it has the ability to vertical notch and just get out of dodge real quick. The acceleration factor is definitely something to think about.
Now, what are you guys thinking about this positioning of OH here against JG?
Much better.
The 2 guys, JG, hanging back 15 miles behind there.
That's going to get them killed.
Yeah.
This separation between the elements is just going to cause massive problems. There's no mutual support between the elements. I mean, they're starting to come in, but if Outer Haven were to just press on JG78 right now, there wouldn't be much that they'd be able to do. Gordo B asks, loadout, why are they... Oh.
Oof. It's touching him.
The blueberry one?
No, blueberry. Yeah, blueberry there. Almost.
Sometimes those missiles... They look closer than they actually are.
It looked like he turned it around on an edge there, too.
Yeah, he did.
Able to kind of spin it.
16-mile slammer coming in from freaking gunner on Blueberry.
It's just too far away, and he's not... Well, he is really fast. He's 850 knots, 28,000 feet, but he launched from too far away. That missile needs to come from 10 miles. If you launch it at 10 miles, you're going to have a bad time trying to defend that. But Plotty and Horaz, they're too separate.
Close.
Yeah, they're really... I'm worried about how this is going to go.
He almost got clipped by that missile there, too. That was another just close shot there where he kind of chaffed his way out of it.
Plotty launches a 120. Looks like it's on Blueberry.
Like this, just making themselves easy for TWS, right? They're all bunching up, the JG guys here. You seeing this?
Now Diamond Wrath defending a missile coming in from Plotty. Did he wait too long to defend that? Here's Diamond Wrath on the left, and he drives that one into the water, so well done defended by him. Oh, but Plotty gets hit by a 120. Yeah. I didn't see who that was launched on, but he's dead. And then immediately K-Gunner goes down. But did he launch that Phoenix?
Yes, there's an AIM-54 airborne.
And that's on freaking Gunner. But...
Yes. A lot of chaff in the air, though. It's going.
Yeah, that's not tracking.
Separated. Definitely a chaotic.
Oh, it is! That missile is tracking. It came out of that, and it's picked freaking Gunner up. And it is still burning.
Now we got
and then
Raz racing off against Blueberry here at the bottom here, 5 miles. Looking like these guys are going to head into a merge here, possibly.
Mouse goes by a missile that I don't know if it went active yet, and it maybe wasn't targeted on him. I don't know. He just flew right.
Horaz is now in a he's dead. 5.5 mile came in from Blueberry. Now Mouse is the only one left, and he's got a missile coming in on him. Is it tracking? No, but he launched a 120 onto Diamond Wrath. Try and give you guys that view. So 120 chasing Diamond Wrath right now, and there's just stuff happening all over the place. Things happened, and then they didn't stop. So we're on pace right now for everybody dying inside of 2 minutes.
3v1 here against Mouse now. Yes. 120 coming off the rail from Generic. This is super close, so I think Mouse is in trouble. I think he's finished.
There's no way even if he pulls this off, he's got the fuel to get back afterwards. He's going to have to work way too hard to try to make this happen.
So here's the view from Blueberry, 120 ingressing onto Mouse. Another 120 coming onto him. Mouse is at 700 knots, but 700 knots is not going to be fast enough to be able to outrun a missile launched from 3 miles. That 120 gaining, closing, 0.3 miles, 2 miles, 1 mile, face mile, right up the tailpipe, and Mouse gets taken down.
I'd have been on just like trying to bounce that missile into the water there. You got to kind of get low enough and yo-yo yourself there to try to drag that missile into the ocean.
Well,
you know what? I came out and I said if I saw another lemming train, I was going to be disappointed, but that lemming train worked.
Well, I think they kind of shaped it up, right as they got to bullseye there. They seemingly, maybe not.
They seemingly allowed all hell to break loose. That was a lemming train low blow with the lemmings having bazookas.
They sent off Diamond Wrath, and I don't know how. It looked like it was part of the strategy. Like, he was definitely out in the lead, came out, dragged to one side, but it didn't really. It was not like JG78 really reacted to anything he did. They just did a decent job of, once JG78 started lobbing a lot of missiles out, it really seemed like OH did a good job of staying together and supporting one another throughout that whole process.
Well,
I mean, it gets tight. Everybody is within 10 miles of each other.
It seemed like controlled chaos.
Yeah. Yes. Good way of putting it.
But you could see, I mean, there was that moment there where we saw, the two JG guys hanging 15 miles behind, and then it just, I don't know, it just spelled trouble, didn't it? You had OH forming that wall and basically JG feeding the machine,
Well, it was like Outer Haven was the bee's nest, and then the lead 2 ship of JG78 was the beekeeper, and his bee suit was 15 miles behind. They couldn't catch up. They couldn't support one another. You only really work well when you're working with each other. And if you allow yourself to get pounced on as a 2 ship by a 4 ship, well, ladies and gentlemen, you're gonna have a bad time. And that's exactly what happened. Outer Haven was able to manage the chaos a bit better than JG78. JG78 was a bit separated. Their situational awareness went in the toilet, it seemed like, and things just happened really, really fast. Something I do want to point out, though, guys, that Phoenix that we saw hit Freaking Gunner, that did some crazy stuff. I mean, that was notched. And then somehow, after K-Gunner died, pulled like a 90-degree turn and found Freaking Gunner again.
But I mean, hats off to OH, because we know that JG can fly. These guys are not, they're not noobs. They know what they're on about. And the way we saw them come out in the first round and just deliver an absolute smackdown 4-0, I did not expect a reversal like that from OH. But man, kudos to them. They came out and they were like, okay, angriest lemmings you've ever seen. It was amazing.
They did a good job of weathering the storm, too. I think JG78, especially in that last round, threw a lot at them at one time. There was 4 missiles out at 4 separate targets at one point towards the end of that match. And that is basically what drew everybody seemingly within the 10.
But I think it comes back to what you were saying, Billy, and we touched on it in the second round as well. The communication, if it breaks down for even 30 seconds or a minute, that could be decisive. Just with, how fast these jets are flying, if 2 guys decide to turn cold and they don't communicate that properly, and all of a sudden you've got that kind of a distance there, that's enough potentially to be influential in these fights,
Gordo B says they
took one guy down there like potty.
Gordo B says that K-Gunner was actually using Mark 47A variants, which is strange, instead of the Charlie or the Mark 60s. That's interesting. Wonder if that was intentional or accidental. I mean, it worked. The one Phoenix kill that happened during this match came at a pretty good time to give Outer Haven effectively cement round 3 victory for them, as long as they're able to make it back to Cobaleti, which at this point I don't foresee being a problem with how close the action area is to their home base. But is there anything there, guys, for JG78 you think they could have done? I mean, my thing, their downfall was losing round 2, because if you're able, as a team, able to come back and win after losing, that is a massive morale boost, and it's very difficult to overcome that as the team that just won round 1 and then lost in round 2. It's almost worse than if you lost round 1. if you lose
Yeah,
in round
absolutely. And I'm not sure if it's just because a little bit of complacency slipped in there, or they just had their communication break down a little bit. But there were times, especially during that third fight, where it looked like there was a bit of a communication breakdown in JG, and they had a couple of key players get out of position and were, like you say, unable to support in time.
Right.
And we saw the moment where they tried to rush in, and we immediately saw JG contract into basically a 4-ship, and but it was, I think, a little bit too late, because OH, man, by that time they'd solidified their plan, and they were committed, and those early slammers in, we saw Potty go down early there by himself, and then from there it was just a feeding frenzy.
Well, you said
OH were opening up. So
you said it was a little bit too late, and it seemed like the chaos had already started, and it was really hard to try and get any sense of communication or organization back once that chaos started to ensue. So they had to be organized before that broke out, and it didn't seem like the communication was there to try and reorganize things during that chaotic point. Once the chaos started, things just started to fragment and fall apart, and Outer Haven was able to push, being hugely aggressive and use that to their advantage.
And that's just the thing, like with 1v1 BFM, you don't have to talk to anyone. Everything's happening in your own mind, you know? So the day trading that Billy was talking about earlier, that's a monologue inside your head. But here, these guys, they need to talk to one another. And if that dialogue across the formation, starts to break down, I mean, it could break down so fast and just have such dramatic effects. That's what I'm seeing from SATAL right now. If these guys, if that communication stops happening, and then all of a sudden the other team's able to solidify, man, that pain is coming, and it's coming fast.
Right. So, Billy, anything from you on what you think, JG78 could have done? Did Billy die?
Yeah, I think we've lost his mic. He looks like he's out.
Oh, is he? Billy.
He's waving at us.
He's gone. Okay. So, and as soon as these guys land, guys, I'm going to have to bounce because I got a ton of stuff I got to do today. But that was a pretty good match. Oh, he's back.
How about now? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I got you now.
We got you.
Yeah, I yanked a cord on the mic, and then I think it just dropped me from the...
What a scrub! What a scrub!
Typical.
Typical of guys with mustaches.
When I saw him firing the Mark 60 Alphas... Am I gone again?
No.
Okay. Shit. When I saw him shooting the Mark 60 Alphas, I was really scratching my head because I remember you had said it was the A weapon selection. So just curious.
When you say Mark 60, you mean Mark 47?
Mark 47, sorry. Just curious what happened there with them as far as the loadouts and kind of what they were putting on the plane. Because I felt like he would have had, that's where I was kind of confused, because it was feeling like he was in decent parameters, but seeing now that was what he was shooting definitely makes sense as far as to what we were seeing.
I mean, the Mark 47 seemed to work out for him there at the end. I got to say that it seemed to work out and be effective. And guys, sorry, so the green screens got reversed here on the, Billy's now on the bottom, and Loblo is on the top, but we're going to close this out anyway because I got stuff to do. I'm sure these guys got stuff to do. But next match is going to be Tuesday. I'm going to check to see who this match is going to be. I don't know why everything just decided to take a dump, but
it's probably my fault.
This is like JG's last round. It's rapidly unfolding here for us.
Don't you say that. Don't you say that. Next match is going to be 343rd. Did we already see that? No, we have. I don't think we've seen 343rd taking on Griffin Squadron. That is going to be the next matchup. That is going to be Tuesday, 1500 Zulu, 343rd taking on Griffin Squadron. It's going to be another A matchup. That should be a good one. We're going to have to see how that goes. And then Thursday is going to be German Tactical Air Group against Baby Shakers. And then I think it may be Diamond League, but I'm going to roll with Gold League. The following Tuesday, since we're not going to stream Saturday, Grim Reapers taking on Phoenix Task Force. So that's what's going to be coming in the future. Awesome. Make sure you guys stay tuned to the DCSWE website. As I continue to make progress with that, I'll probably continue to work on it tonight. Be checking out and be watching for BFM stuff. Check and see what Billy does with Wild Weasel Apparel. Huge shout outs to all of our other sponsors for making this stuff possible. Wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. This is just great. Hopefully we can continue down the road of consolidating DCS and making it a better and more enjoyable home for everyone. But guys, before we bounce out, you guys got anything in closing before we get out of here?
No, if Billy doesn't show up next time, I'm gonna be upset. It was good having him in.
No, I will be back in force. I can assure you of that. So no worries there.
He says
yeah,
that.
no.
He says that, and he'll be gone.
Yeah, I mean, all I got is, check out wildweaselapparel.com. Got a bunch of cool stuff up there right now. A lot more stuff coming in the future here. So keep your eyes out on all that stuff. And yeah, that's it.
All right, guys. So that's it. Have a good one, ladies and gentlemen. Fly safe in those virtual skies, and I'll see you guys back here on Tuesday. Until next time, see you guys later.